Hi, welcome to Book Pop. I'm Jamie Anderson.
And I'm Molly Fish.
And this is a podcast about books as pop culture.
And reading and our lives. Speaking of which, how are you doing today, Jamie? You're a little froggy.
I'm so tired. I'm so gravelly.
Got a little extra bass on your voice. I like it, actually.
Yeah. So my kid graduated this weekend.
Yay.
From high school. My oldest son, Jacob. And we had his party. So we had his ceremony on Saturday. We had his party on Sunday. And I was up late. I was cleaning my kitchen till like 10 p.m. You were there.
I was there. I was shutting it down.
Yes.
Staying too late.
Yes. But it was a lot of fun. And,
it was.
And it was a lot at once. So I also feel like I'm coming down from like a little like party hangover in so many aspects, not just...
Well, and you've been planning that and thinking about it for weeks, months even.
Yes. So it feels good to be done. And I'm going to take a long nap after this. Just cuddle up on my couch.
That's the plan for today.
That's my plan. Yeah. Normally I would go to the gym, but I'm just not going to go to the gym.
I'm also taking the day off from the gym, although I don't have a great reason other than work.
On the topic of graduation, I thought I'd share what I'm reading as kind of more what I'm giving for graduation parties.
I like that.
Because I've been so busy and I haven't been reading like I normally do either. So these are two books that I got from the store because we have great graduation presents as books in the store. But Jacob wants to travel and it's a big topic. You can go anywhere, you can do it. Like, why do you want to travel is kind of...
Right. And so there's so many options there.
Right. And what do you want to learn from that? So I got him this book, How to Travel, The School of Life, a philosophical guide to fulfilling journeys. And it's compiled of like 20 different essays, and there's pages in it where you can fill out your own thoughts. And
oh, interesting.
It's kind of like a workbook in a little way. The essays in it are more like, where do you want to go and what do you want to learn from that? And it makes you think more deeply about what you want to get out of traveling. So I thought that was a good gift for him.
Yeah. I didn't realize it had workbook aspects to it. I'm familiar with the book, obviously, but oh, cool. Yeah, there's like a big grid.
And it talks about like the difference between taking a photo and doing a drawing from a place you're at, which I thought was a really interesting.
Yeah.
You can sit down and sketch out a place, and that might be more meaningful to you than taking a picture of it, and makes you think differently about what you're looking at. But it also is more reminiscent of taking in the little things, and travel can be stressful, and even just the beauty of an airport and all those people coming together to go to a different place. There's a charmingness about it that you can take for granted if you're not tuned into it.
Yeah, it's a nice way to think about it. Especially, I think being mindful is really what you're getting at, right? Like, so when you're traveling, you'll make better memories in general too, when you're being mindful of your surroundings instead of just like trying to get from point A to point B.
Right.
It's about the journey.
Yes.
And you'll just enjoy things more and be able to pick up little details if you're just thinking and looking around you and not on your phone taking pictures or just being stressed, checking schedules for the next bus or whatever. And I really fall into that trap a lot.
Like, what's next? Where are we going?
Of like making sure I have the next thing planned. I'm like a planner. So traveling's always been tough for me. Maybe I need to read that book, How to Travel, because I always like and really look forward to it, and I think it's going to be this thing, and then it ends up just me being stressed about the details the whole time.
Yeah.
And then I look back and think like I have a couple like great core memories maybe of things I saw, but mostly I remember the hustle of the travel, and then I feel like I just don't enjoy it as much.
There's always a point that I have when I get to the airport. I get past security and I'm just like, okay, now I let go.
Let go point.
Yes. And just go with it, whether our plane is delayed or, I don't get my window seat.
Maybe like that's easier.
Yeah.
because like, okay, work is done usually. Like you're like, I get to shut that part of my brain off because I'm going on vacation. And I don't know. I still am a little too
anxious.
Control freak. And my anxiety will really come out in like airports and places like that where I'm like, I have to be like waiting there at the exact gate that I'm supposed to be at. And what if something changes and I have to be, I just like too many variables.
Yeah.
Maybe. So for a control freak,
you don't do well.
I struggle. I did a trip though with my friend Claire where she was planning it. It was like her friends doing a wedding beach vacation. I was her plus one. I didn't have, so like she bought the plane tickets. I had the bookings, like everything was,
you just had to show up.
I was just supposed to like show up at the airport. And I was like, I couldn't believe how stressed out I was about this because I didn't know anything. But then I actually was like, oh, this ended up being one of my favorite trips I've ever taken. I just kind of let go at one point of being like, people would ask me questions like, what time is your flight? And I'd be like, I don't know. I was told to be at the airport at this time. Although it did end up being a problem. Like I couldn't get on I didn't have the email with the ticket and I had to go back and get
the boarding pass.
And, thank you. The boarding pass. But it ended up being so freeing to just be like, I don't have to worry about things. This is like her deal, her friends. I'm not trying to impress people. I'm not trying to, I just get to be along for the ride. That went really well. So
lovely.
You know, there is a case for that. I think when I have to be the one in charge of it though, then I'm going to always be over planning and anxious.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to Jacob. Hopefully he gets to use that book, do some fun traveling.
Yeah.
Did you have another graduation present?
I do. And this one, we've giggled over this one when it first came in.
Love this book.
And also several people have bought it as graduation presents too. And I was like, that's just a great idea. It's called Disappointing Affirmations by Dave Tarnowski. And it's got beautiful pictures in it, but then it just has clever things like this one that I just opened to. Ask the universe for guidance, then just go and do whatever stupid shit you were going to do anyways. Like,
it's like those motivational posters that were in office buildings in like the early 2000s.
Yes.
Except then they just make it funny.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is a good one.
Give yourself a break. Disassociate. I mean, come on. There's one in here.
The panic attack one was our favorite.
Have a panic attack. You deserve it.
You deserve it. That's how I think about panic attacks now.
Failure is always an option.
It's true.
Like these are just, I mean, they're good reminders.
They are.
Like
it's humbling.
It's very humbling. Everything is going to be okay. You're just going to have to change your definition of okay. Like
that one's actually pretty profound.
Yeah.
I have to say, I mean, I do love giving books as any kind of present. It's like the number one present I give to anyone in my life, birthdays, whatever, including graduations. But for Jacob, for example, I just gave him cash.
Yeah, he appreciated that.
I was like,
he did.
You know, I know what an 18-year-old wants.
Yeah.
So ironically, the bookstore lady did not give a book.
But I did, so he's covered.
Exactly. He's covered. He's got books. He's got access. I even thought about just giving him a gift card to the store so that he could come buy books himself. And then I was like, even that he doesn't want to do that compared to, I mean, maybe
he'd appreciate it, but he made bank.
Yeah, exactly. Every kid wants cash for graduation. I remember being that.
Yeah, we went to the bank this morning. We started a high yield savings account this morning.
Right away, Monday morning.
Yep.
Banging down the doors as soon as they open.
Exactly. It's like this money is burning a hole in my pocket and
I love it.
I just need to put it somewhere.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Graduation's fun.
It's fun. It's fun to be done.
Yeah, I'm happy for you.
Yeah. A lot of emotions. Yeah.
A lot of wine, a lot of emotions.
A lot of wine, a lot of coping in many ways.
You did it though. You both did it.
It was a lot of fun. And Jacob was great yesterday. Like he wasn't thrilled about having a party. He's not the kind of kid who likes to be the center of attention. And he was really excited to talk to everybody. And he spent time with people and just chatted.
Really
he was
being
very
a good host.
sociable. Yes.
Yeah.
So I was really proud of him. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that you're through this time.
Yes, me too.
Maybe you can get back into
reading. Yes. I'll get back in the groove.
Well, it's funny because it's summer and our topic today we're going to talk about beach reads. And it's supposed to be a time, I always think of like summer break was the time I caught up on reading, right?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I don't have to do school stuff. I don't have to, like, my days aren't as packed. I can go lay in the park and read a book, or I can just be outside longer during the day because it's light out really late, and you can go sit anywhere and read outside in Madison. You know, there's so many great spots. And it used to be a time where I would just like plow through books, or you go on vacation and you take a couple books on vacation and you read them there. And I don't have like as many vacations in my life, or if anything, I feel like now I'm busier in the summer than I am in the winter or other times during the quote unquote school year, which doesn't have any meaning in my life anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been thinking a lot about that, and maybe part of why we like summer vacation books and like these lighter topics is just because we can't there's already so much going on. Like I can't like sit down and have a meditative read with like a heady nonfiction title in the summer. I just can't do it. I don't have the focus.
Yep.
I don't have even the desire to do that in the summertime. But in the winter, I really often do, or even in the fall.
Yeah.
It's just like a different vibe for reading. I don't know if you feel that way too.
Absolutely. I've been going through like just a easy romance binge
phase
for a minute, and it's been delightful, but picking up something dark and intense is just not how I'm feeling right now. Yeah.
Well, much like how I look forward to going on vacation, but then I end up being kind of stressed the whole time I'm on vacation, I feel like I always look forward to going to read at the beach, and then you know, it's like you don't get as much reading done, or it's like not as comfortable as the situation. But I would like to hear more about what your experience like is like reading on the beach, because you were telling me you don't do that at all, and I was like, what? I at least I'll like look forward to it. I think it's going to be a great time. I will read until I get burned usually, and then I have to stop. But you are not a beach reader.
I'm not. And I think it has to do with like any major beach that I've been on. It's been a vacation where I'm like taking my kids, and then they're playing in the ocean, and there's no relaxing and reading a book when your kids are in the ocean. It's just fair. Like I can't take my eyes off of them. And I mean, granted, they're older now and they'd be fine, but I still think I have that anxiety that's always been built in me. Like, watch your kids, you know?
Or like taking a girls' vacation to the pool, or going to the pool on an afternoon.
So the only time that I'm like reading on vacation or beach reading is if it's on a boat, on the pontoon.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
If it's a nearby beach, I can't be too overstimulated with too many things going on. And like, I want to be in a comfortable space. But then also, like, every year we go up to Minocqua, Boulder Junction area for like our family vacation around the 4th. And I'll read there because that's also a homey, comfortable place to me.
Like, you know, that place has less surprises.
Even with, you know, 30 family members around, it's still like cozy. And
there's someone to watch the kids, and you can kind of sneak away. And I love reading at the cabin.
Yes.
Like a summer cabin trip. That's my favorite. That's like when I read.
Okay. Yeah. That's my beach reading.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I think that's fair. That's still like a summer read vibe.
Yeah. And
I still feel like the definition of a beach read, which is maybe also like a summer read, it's just about escapism, right? It's not even about necessarily it being really light and fluffy with a happy ending. I think even like page turner thrillers and horror even can fall into the category of like summer reading, where it's like all-encompassing. You just are sitting there and you get so engrossed in it because you don't have, I think the idea is like, you want to escape, like you're going on a vacation, you're kind of escaping your regular life for a little. Reading on vacation is like another level of removed from your own life, right? You're on vacation on a beach somewhere else, and I'm reading about someone else's life that's like some really absorbing thing. It's just, it just turns everything off in your brain. And I mean, I love that about reading in general. Is the escapism, the turning things off, and just kind of thinking about another set of another perspective and getting another story into your brain, right? Like living in these stories is such a fun and interesting thing. And it doesn't have to be light and fluffy, I think, for it to be escapist. I was thinking about the last beach read that I was doing. So in January, I was with my family in Florida, and it was super rainy and cold the whole time. And I was so bummed. So I'm like literally condo reading because we couldn't go to the beach. but I read a lot. And I read Heaven and Earth Grocery Store on that trip, which was very engrossing. And I couldn't put it down. And the fact that I was reading it all at once also felt like when I have a lot of uninterrupted time to read a book that's lit thick and that has a lot of different characters to keep track of, it adds to the escapism for me. Whereas I actually just talked to someone who said they didn't like Heaven and Earth Grocery Store. First person I'd ever heard say that. Because we all talk about it with customers. And they go like, oh yeah, I love it. Or everyone's I've talked to has loved it.
I'm very interested in their take.
Well, here's what they said. They read it slowly over 6 months and they couldn't keep track of any of the characters, which means and they were like, well, I would go down this rabbit hole with a character and then I would pick it up 2 weeks later and I would have no idea what had just happened. And I was like, okay, see, now I can actually see why you would not engage with the book as much if you were reading it that slowly, because it is, you have to keep track of how they all relate to each other in this community, and it builds on itself.
Yeah.
And then it builds and builds to this climax where it's like an ensemble cast. If you're not reading it in one sitting or, in a short amount of time. And I remember thinking, as she said that, I was like, well, I couldn't put it down. After the first 50 pages, when I got into it, I couldn't put it down. So I think that might be a factor too. Like that's not a beach read.
Yeah.
But I read it on my vacation because I had these long interrupted stretches of time and it was like the perfect thing to enjoy. I also read a short fantasy trilogy, which I have here. It's the Scholomance series by Naomi Novik. This is the third one, The Golden Enclaves. I read all 3 of these on vacation. I just happened to have one of them, I think. And then I picked up the other ones like at the airport. I don't remember what happened. Okay. Maybe I found the second one somewhere and then like at a bookstore down there. And then the third one, I think I read when I got back, like right away. I got it from the store. I don't remember exactly, but I read most of it on this vacation because they were super fast and light. It's almost like Harry Potter for grown-ups in that it's a magical school. There's a lot of people dying. I'll say this. It's like Harry Potter plus Hunger Games. Okay. Because all these kids are in this school that's trying to kill them. And they have to develop their magic so they can get out of the school alive.
But it's not YA.
It's not YA.
Okay.
They're kids like they're 18. Like you have to be old enough to even go in or something because you'll get killed immediately. So there's like a lot of violence in it. It could be YA. I think Naomi Novik is one of those authors. I've read other stuff by her. She's a fantasy author where like it's pretty clean. It's not going to be spicy. There's like adult themes and it's like complicated, but the characters are usually young enough and it's easy to follow enough that I think like I read her as some of her adult fantasy when I was like probably in middle school, some of her like dragony stuff, and it was really easy to follow but felt a little more grown up. Okay. It's not true YA. Anyway, the Scholomance series, I really liked that. Not a traditional beach read, but I read most of those on the beach because it's just like a fun, what's going to happen next? And it was like kind of weird enough that I was really into it. Like, what are we doing here? So I liked it. It has a cool lead character who's really, it's like her whole inner monologue is very sassy. Yeah. And so it's a good hang with the lead character. Maybe that's part of it too. I feel like beach reads are more character and plot driven. Yeah. And not like ideas and ruminating, right? Like you're just kind of something that's going to keep the pages turning. I think even nonfiction, I don't mind reading nonfiction if it's the kind of nonfiction that really moves forward, that keeps you in it. If it's like story driven nonfiction, it's not so much about like the fictionalness of the escape for me. It's about how engaging is this book? Like, is it pulling me in so that I forget that there's like sand all over my arms? And, like the sun is burning me or like whatever is happening. Can I really escape into this book? I think Killers of the Flower Moon would be like a great nonfiction, even though it's a depressing topic but it reads so engagingly and you're like, I can't put it down.
Educated came to mind right away because it reads so much like fiction.
That'd be a great quote unquote beach read. Yeah. So I think what we're kind of uncovering here as we talk about it is like beach reading can be whatever you need it to be, or summer reading in general. Do you have, like, you're in a romance phase right now. Do you have any vacations planned? I guess you have that summer trip
4th
coming
of July
up.
trip. Yeah.
So what are you thinking about reading on that trip? Do you have anything lined up?
I snagged a used copy of Emily Henry's Beach Read. Ooh. And I'm thinking that might just be it. I might save it for 4th of July weekend.
The quintessential beach read. Titled Beach Read. That was my favorite Emily Henry before Funny Story came out.
Yeah.
Now it's my second favorite.
Because you just relate so much to Funny Story.
Yeah.
It was so good. I finished it and I haven't talked about it yet because I don't know. There's so much to say.
Our, wrap up episode.
I guess so. I loved it so much though.
Right?
It was so good.
Emily Henry, she knocks it out of the park.
Yeah. And we had customers come in that hadn't been introduced to her before and were like buying the entire shelf of Emily Henry.
Definitely.
So it's fun to see her getting the acknowledgement for her.
Yeah, I think it's growing her kind of mainstream awareness of people, especially I think romance readers are like, yeah, duh, Emily Henry. And I think non-romance readers even are getting into her and realizing like this is a thing that there's still really great plot and characters.
Yeah.
It's not just the simmering tension,
right,
which she's so good at, but like the snappy dialogue is great. I think that there's people who would normally be reading something more like Sally Rooney or a little bit more, literary taste that can still dabble in Emily Henry and enjoy it and get some little happily ever after, but you don't feel like it's just cotton candy fluff, right?
Right.
Well, this episode is going to come out on July 5th, the 4th of July weekend. So we'll keep it short this week and we'll just let you get out there and do some reading of your own and hopefully enjoy the sun. And whether you're reading, romance on the beach or nonfiction in a dark room, or whatever you like to read during the summer.
Or you can't read anything because you're watching your kids.
Yeah, also valid. I even just said in our newsletter that I sent out for June, I was like, I'm really getting behind on reading, which I don't like to talk about being behind or ahead, but
right.
It feels like I'm getting behind and I'm just not reading as much and I miss it because I've just been so busy. So I'm really looking forward to spending some time, especially 4th of July weekend, getting back to my patio and reading as much as I can. But in the meantime, you can find us at the bookstore.
Yeah, let us know what you're reading this summer.
Have fun out there.
Bye.
Bye.